Hey guys, I'm so glad you're with me today. Thank you for joining us. I am so excited for you to meet my guest, Esther Miranda, and she is the founder of Sweet Oak Collaborative. It is local to our town here in Bryan College Station. So if you're visiting us from somewhere else, we are so excited to invite you as well into this conversation. You're going to catch vision. I know you will catch vision because Esther is just a sower of vision. And so it's exciting for me to have her here today. And for those of you who are local, if you are looking for somewhere to spend your time, talent, and your treasure that's going to be sown for the kingdom work, I'm telling you, you're going to love what Esther has to say today. So welcome to our conversation. We're glad you're here, and let's get started. So Esther, tell me a little bit about how you decided to start Sweet Oak Collaborative.
First, thank you, Christy, for giving me this opportunity.
Yes, of course.
I am so grateful to have met you. Sweet Oak began because I felt a huge need after living in Bryan College Station for over 30 years, that despite all the good work that so many agencies were already doing, stuff was falling through the cracks. And every single day there were people in need, not knowing where to go, or had been given a bunch of telephone numbers to call, and with very little minutes on a burner phone, or no gas in a car, or no car at all, did not know where to go to get help in a crisis. And so I thought to myself, okay, you already know the work agencies are doing. Why don't you focus on the unmet needs, the stuff that nobody's doing? And that was the impetus to start a nonprofit.
Okay, very good. So when you talk about the needs that you were seeing that were unmet, one of the things that you've said to me before when we met, I had mentioned the homeless community in Bryan College Station. And one of the things that Esther mentioned was she called them the invisible unsheltered. And I thought even just the language of that, is a way to give dignity.
Yeah.
Even just in the way that we have this conversation.
Right.
And so I know the invisible unsheltered are part of your heartbeat,
Yep.
Something that you're passionate about. So tell me about how did you first notice, because I know you've shared with me, at first it looked like in Bryan College Station there were no people who were invisible and unsheltered.
Right.
So share a little about that.
So I moved here in 1991 from India, where poverty is so visible on the street. My mother's home, we were an upper middle class family, but down our road was a slum. So on one side of the gate are people who are low to no income.
Okay.
I would see families with 3 or 4 kids one day and only 2 kids the next day. And if I said, where's the other little one? They'd say, oh, they died yesterday. They had diarrhea or they had tuberculosis and they died. And so poverty and death was so matter of fact, and you saw it on the street. And so I come to Bryan College Station and we're living this very comfortable, blessed life, and my kids were going to public school, and I was mostly a College Station resident. People had told me, oh, Bryan is a different town, it's a different culture. Well, I didn't know what they were talking about till I got a job in Bryan and started seeing what they meant. And at first I thought there are no poor people in Bryan College Station because I don't see them.
Right.
Occasionally, if you were in downtown, you might see somebody with a grocery cart. And so my image of poverty that I brought with me from India
Yes.
was not what I was seeing in this very beautiful city. And it wasn't until I became a caseworker with St. Vincent de Paul, when we got a call from somebody in a crisis needing help with rent, or their lights had got cut off, we made home visits in pairs. 2 people would go together.
Yes.
And that was my first glimpse of the depth and breadth of poverty in Bryan College Station.
Okay.
When I entered a home and saw a hole in the wall covered with a towel where a window unit was supposed to be, or not a single chair, bed, couch, table, and life was on the floor along with roaches and Cheerios and video games and homework. And I realized they have no furniture. Start a furniture ministry. So we started a furniture ministry. But the homeless, which I call the invisible unsheltered, the image most people have when you use the word homeless is the druggies and the drunks in the park. The ones who live in the shadows, the ones who find a bench or a church porch to sleep at. And that is so far from true. We do have those individuals in our city.
Sure.
But I learned of single mothers with children living in their cars, grandparents who were priced out of their apartments because the landlord decided to give it a coat of paint and jack the rent up $300, and suddenly folks who were living in their apartment for 12 and 15 years on a social security check were without a home and started living in their cars. These are the different kinds of people that are part of our unsheltered population.
Yes.
And I want people to know that they sometimes live on the floor. I know a family that lived on the floor of a garage of a cousin's home, a mother with 5 kids, until the mother's boyfriend kicked them out. That was their home, but they did not have a brick and mortar home. They were unsheltered.
Yes.
Those who live in a mobile home on somebody's couch or the floor, they are unsheltered.
Yes.
And
This
so,
is actually how I met you, is I had seen, so this is how I heard about what Esther's doing a few months back. I guess it was in 2025. The city of Bryan had come in and told that RV park that they were going to have to
shut it down.
shut it down. And so that was the first I had seen of Sweet Oak Collaborative, and the first I heard of you. And so I know that this is something you're very passionate about. When people, there had been people living at that mobile home park for how many years? So many years.
15 years,
Yes.
many of them.
And-
And suddenly being told in 3 weeks, we're shutting it down or we're demolishing your RV and clearing the land. And so unfair.
Yes.
So disingenuous to act like, you care about people. No, you don't. Because to do something that drastic after 15 years of them living there with such little notice, and these are people, many of them elderly.
Yes.
One gentleman was in hospice care in his RV.
Yes.
And with all his equipment. And
these RVs, many of them were falling apart.
Yeah.
It was not necessarily the safest environment. But the truth is, that was their home.
Yep.
And it's much safer than the street.
Yep.
Especially when you're talking about
Yeah.
somebody that has hospice equipment and
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
And so Sweet Oak Collaborative stepped in, and that looks like, I say Sweet Oak Collaborative, but we all understand there are a few faces behind Sweet Oak Collaborative, and that it's a group effort.
Yeah.
Right now, your nonprofit doesn't employ anyone.
We do not have any full-time paid staff, and we have no funding.
So no
Yeah,
funding.
We've gone for 3 years doing monumental work.
Yes.
And I don't say it to brag because I had never added the numbers till my board members told me, Esther, we need to know how many adults, how many children, how many people you fed, how many people used our emergency shelter, how many people are in transitional housing. And I had to go back 3 years and really count the volume of work we've done.
Yes.
And that was humbling and mind-blowing at the same time.
Yes, so I have right here, you brought me a couple of papers. when
Oh,
we
our
first-
impact report.
Yeah, when we first met. And so she has a beautiful impact report printed up. And so if anybody wants to see this, you can reach out. I'll put stuff in the show notes so that you can reach out. And then she also has a lovely brochure that just talks about everything that they do. And so I want to talk about this a little bit because you do emergency housing. So in that situation where they were shutting down that park and they only had a little time to get out, I know you helped house several different families and people that had lived there, and you helped them find other shelter.
Yep.
And so on here, I know you said for emergency housing, you've helped 69 adults and 43 children. And the average stay on this, I mean, this is just talking about coming in when people have, it's an emergency. And the average stay is 2 to 3 days. So we're not talking about people that are just wanting to loaf around and let somebody else pay all their bills. We're not talking about that. We are talking about people who are willing to work, who are willing to put effort into their own housing, but they just come into a hard situation.
In a crisis.
Yes.
Crisis situations. So it's people who are losing their homes. It is people who maybe through no fault of their own have their hours cut and suddenly their paycheck is only half of what they used to get, so they can't pay their rent. But it is also sexual assault and domestic violence victims who need a safe and anonymous place to go.
Yes.
And when they cannot go anywhere except back to their abuser, we look at it as that person needs a hotel room and we need to pick them up and take them for 1 day or 2 days or 3 days till we figure out where they're going next. You want to get to your sister in Dallas. Okay, we're going to help you get to Dallas. Or your cousin in New York. Okay, now we need an air ticket. Oh, you left with only the clothes on your back. Well, we need a police report and a police officer to go with you when your partner is not at home, to get your laptop, to get your passport, to get your social security card, to get your clothes.
Yes.
And then we help to move you. So all of those are examples of emergency shelter.
Yes.
Somebody's getting an apartment, they've waited a long time for their voucher, they had their inspection, and now it's 3 more days before the apartment is ready. Well, we'll put you in a hotel room for 3 days because you've come this far and we want to make sure we get you into your next home. So the nature of emergencies is a whole different range, but we do not say yes until we've done an intake because we believe in a hand up and not a handout.
Yes.
Sweet Oak is all about hand ups, not handouts. So we want to know the whole story. Every emergency hotel room that we give is because there is a plan for what's going to happen after 2 nights or after 3 nights. And if the 3 nights become a week, but there is a plan, we'll extend it to a week. If somebody needs 2 months or 3 months, we're going to say, well, we can't pay for 2 and 3 months, but I will get you the best rate. And we negotiated a very low contract rate with a couple of hotels. So a family that needs to stay a whole month till they get their disability check or their social security check, and they're willing to pay for the nights that we can't pay for, we're going to help you. We'll check you in, we'll pay for the first 2 or 3 nights, and after that, you're going to pay with the special rate. So yeah, that's our emergency shelter program.
I love that. And so back to the invisible unsheltered. Sorry, I took you on a whole journey, but I just kind of wanted people, I want people to get the big view of how far reaching this goes.
Yeah.
It really, you are ministering to people who need pantry support. They just need food, right? Like they need food.
I do want to get back for just a bit to the invisible unsheltered because every single day, bar none, I will get calls from the people in the park, from the people who do not have a plan, from the people who do not get an income, saying, I heard you provide hotel rooms, I need a room. And I tell them, we don't just give out hotel rooms.
Right.
Do you want us to help you get into a program where they'll help you look for work? Have you tried the homeless shelter? I will get you a bed. Many of these don't want to go to the shelter. They don't want to look for jobs. They don't want to be in a program. If I say, will you pass the drug test? Well, no, not really. I take this, that, and the other. So there are some people we offer help, but we can't help if they don't want the help we're offering.
Yes, because you're not going to enable.
We're not enabling. We're not a Band-Aid. We're not a handout.
Yes.
We're about hand-ups.
Yes.
So if you're willing to let us hear your whole story, and I only ask 2 things of them. Do not lie to me and do not leave anything out, because I will find out. Because when I start calling around to all the agencies asking for help and who can do what, somebody or the other often tells me, oh, they can't return to the shelter because this is what they did when they were here 6 months ago. When I hear that and you've left it out of your story, I say, I am truly sorry. I want to help you, but I can't.
Yes.
I need you to do this or this or this and come back to me. And when I see that you're willing to make an effort, we are willing to make as much of an effort for you.
Yes.
But we're not going to do all the work for you. Now, some people are truly in need, very elderly, disabled, veterans living in their recliner. They have no family. They have no transportation. So when we hear the story, we try to be as flexible and compassionate. So it's not a one size fits all.
Right.
It's not a one size fits all. You asked about pantry. Yeah, food insecurity is huge, huge. We have all these beautiful pantries in town and the food bank. And people will often say, well, why do they not have food? They can just go get food. We got all this food. And I say, well, if they don't have transportation, how do they get there?
Right.
We saw how people who never needed to use a food pantry got SNAP benefits every month. And what happened a couple months ago? No SNAP, overnight, can't use your card. Then what? Then what?
Right.
So we ran a drive. We called it the CAN Drive. And CAN was not just cans, but Community Action Network. We founded the Community Action Network, and we started collecting items to give away to people who could not use their SNAP benefits. And it took them through that couple of weeks of just sheer anxiety,
Yes.
terror, stress. How do I feed my family? It's very real. Those of us who just go to the grocery store and buy meat at whatever it is a pound, buy strawberries at whatever it is a pound, we never think about, how am I going to use these last $22 on my card?
Right.
Then buy the cheapest food, the most unhealthy food, because they got to feed 5 people at home.
Right.
So food insecurity is very real, and we were blessed by the First Baptist Church pantry on Welch Street, who told us we could piggyback on what they do every Tuesday morning, and they allowed Sweet Oak to deliver food to 20 households every week.
Wow.
And we've done that since last May, and this number here of delivering over to 1,500 families, that number says 111. We now have about 128 families on our list, but we're limited to 20 every week that they let us come and pick up food and groceries and take it to them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I love that's part of the collaborative, right? Like that's part of the name.
Yes.
Is you are collaborating
Yes.
with
We
other
want to bring in other people to do
helpers.
the work. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is impossible to reach this many people by yourself. And so one of the things that I really hope my listeners and the people watching will really take to heart is you need more volunteers.
Absolutely.
And there's so many people sitting at home, and I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry to say this. This is called Get Honest. So we just get honest. You can spend time being rageful on Facebook about all of the injustices. You can spend all your time talking about poor leadership and different things, or you can get involved and do something. And so that is my action call to you, is to say, come get involved, get off Facebook, get off your computer, and put feet to your faith. That's what this whole podcast is about. This is an organization that is such a great picture of actually putting feet to faith, because you're not just talking about the problem. You are looking for solutions. And you have a phrase that you used with me. I can't remember exactly what you said. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where you were talking about you are solutions oriented.
Okay. I believe that you are either an excuse-driven person or a solutions-driven person.
I love it.
An excuse-driven person is always looking for ways that something won't work. You can't do that because. We can't pay for that because. Our mission doesn't allow us because. Our federal dollars won't pay for that because. There's always a reason for why something can't happen.
Yes.
And solutions-driven people are constantly saying, okay, I'm going to find a way to go around that mountain, to go around that tree. I'm going to find another way to do it. And solutions-driven people are just adamant about going after solutions. If I can't do it with you, I'm going to find somebody else I can do it with.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when solutions-driven people get together and they sit around the table and they're like, okay, they tried that and they tried that, and well, we're going to try this and let's see where it goes. They're unafraid to take risks. They're unapologetic about what their hearts are telling them to do.
Yes, passion. They have a
Yes.
passion for it.
Yes, unapologetic. If I offend somebody, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, it wasn't intentional, it wasn't personal. It was not a personal attack. But I'm not going to back down about talking about what is. And people of faith, when people say how you have faith, I always say faith is your heart saying yes to what your head has not fully understood yet.
Yeah.
And it's the same with solutions oriented people. You are believing in something, you are saying this is what is. There are people hungry.
Yes.
There are people living in their cars. There are people with no transportation walking home 3 and 4 miles at night after a job because the buses have stopped running. Okay? I just want people in a community, especially those who are comfortable in their homes, who are able to shop at a grocery store, who have a nice car and can drive, who never have to think about walking 3 miles. Okay? I just want them to think about the people who can't.
Right.
And to get away from the excuse of they're lazy people. That is something I've heard a lot. Oh, they just want the benefits. They just want a handout. And I said, do you know some of these people personally? Because I do.
Right. You've worked right beside them.
They are hardworking, good people. And every single one of us is one cancer diagnosis, one car accident, one funeral, one foreclosure, one eviction away from being in their shoes.
Yes.
And until it happens to you, you do not even know what it feels like.
Right. No compassion. But I think I love what you just said, and I want to highlight that because I feel like, people do feel very secure
Yeah.
in their situation. Well, I have insurance. Well, I have this. Well, I have that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just what you said. It's one death, one phone call, one life-changing moment. And we aren't in control of those things.
Right.
And so when that happens, I would encourage people to have compassion
Yeah.
before that happens.
That judging.
To them.
Yeah.
Right.
That judging.
That's right.
Like you can make a choice to go from 2 incomes to 1 income.
Right.
But that was an intentional choice.
Right.
What about the person who had no control when their boss didn't give them 40 hours for next week and only gave them 20?
Right.
And now your paycheck is half. And now your lights are turned off. And they call us, can you help me pay my light bill? They were not lazy people.
Right.
They were getting ready to go to work that next week. And suddenly they're only getting half a paycheck. And that's why they called, to get their lights back on. And I tell people, you mentioned volunteering. I have elderly people. I have people who say, I don't know how I can help you, Esther. I'm not tech savvy. I can't lift after my back surgery. I don't drive, or my eyes are not, well enough to deal with night driving. Okay, I get all of it. I say, do you talk to your grandchildren every week? Yes, we do FaceTime on the weekends. I said, where do you do FaceTime? On my phone. Okay, do you text? Oh, I can text. I said, can you make 5 texts for me a week? I can do that. Can you make 10 phone calls before pantry day to tell our families we're coming at 12 o'clock? Oh, I can make phone calls. I said, everybody can do something.
Yes. Good.
You can be in your recliner and make phone calls. You do not have to lift heavy boxes to help in the pantry. You can enter my data after Tuesday, and that's going to save me a half hour.
Right.
Sit at your computer where you're comfortable. And so when I give them those examples, they're like, oh, okay, I can do that. I can do that.
Yes.
That's
and there's
something
something for
everybody-
everyone.
yeah.
And so what would you say right now? I mean, I know you have many needs, right? Far reaching. But if I put you on the spot and I said, Esther, what is the primary need? I mean, we joked earlier, she really needs a personal assistant. She really does, because she has her hand in so many things, and it all takes time to, if she's got 5 different people calling her for 5 different, I'm going to call them ministries that she's doing here, they're all answering to her. That all takes time. So she really needs a personal assistant. So if you're the one that's listening right now and you're like, man, I've been looking for a way to really make a difference and volunteer my time, please reach out, because I know she needs that. But what would you say for the general, I guess the general population, maybe not just that one, but what do you need? I mean, I know people can give, right? That can't give of their time, they can give of their money.
Yes, and I wanted to mention, I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah.
$5 can turn a life around. $5, okay? We need money, a lot of money, because we have dreams. We have not gone after any grants, because I need grant writers. If you are somebody that loves to research grants, we need you. If you are somebody who loves to write, we need you. Okay? That's two big things.
Okay.
Because if you don't ask, you won't receive.
Right.
God says, ask. I'm asking. So we need money. But people think that I have to write a big check. No. There was a gentleman who had left the homeless shelter. I was encouraging him to look for work. He had had no success. He was now sleeping on the couch in a friend's house. And I thought he's just not making enough of an effort. I would send him leads for jobs. One day he called and he said, I got an interview with Jack in the Box. And I said, great. When's your interview? Tomorrow. And he said, will you pay for an Uber to get to the interview? I said, absolutely not. You're a young man and you can take the bus. And he said, I've never taken the bus before. I said, okay. There's a bus stop 2 blocks from where you're living. Well, I don't even have money for the bus ticket. I said, you know what? Bus tickets are $1 a ride. I will bring you 5 tickets. So the next day, or later that day, I dropped off 5 tickets to him. And he took the bus the next day, and he called me that evening, and he said, it went great, and they're going to run my background check. And they said, if it all works out, I need to come back for training tomorrow. I said, great. You still have 3 tickets, so you can take the bus back for your training tomorrow. And then I never heard from him for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. Okay. And then suddenly my phone rang one day, and it was him. And I thought, here we go. He's called to ask for something, and I was wrong. He called to say, Miss Esther, I don't need any more bus tickets. I bought myself a monthly pass, and the job is going well.
Wow.
$4. I'm holding up $4 is what it took to turn his life around.
Yeah.
But it is the safety net, it is the mentoring, it is the holding their feet to the fire, it is giving a little. I didn't have to give him the $5, but he's already made the effort now and he's got an interview.
Right.
And I'm thinking $5 is just $5. So when I tell people about donating, I tell them, if you eat out, if you buy a burger, if you go to spend on anything, you go to the movies and buy popcorn, you can give $5.
Right.
And $5 can turn a life around.
Yes. Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so even in that story, I'm hearing she needs people that are willing to mentor, right?
Yes.
You need people that are willing to walk beside somebody and help them figure out how to apply for the job.
Yes.
How to get the job.
If you've been a counselor, if you've been a school nurse, if you've been a therapist, if you've been in any of those positions and you've retired, well, you have spent a work life of listening, of advising, of empathy, of walking beside somebody, okay? Why let all that lifetime of work experience go to waste just because you've retired? Volunteer for a couple of hours every week. Say, do you have a family? Do you have a male or a female or a young girl or a teenager? Tell me whom you enjoy working with. I'll point you to a family and say, okay, call them once a week. Take them to McDonald's for a coffee or meet them in the park so the kids can play and you can sit on a bench and talk. There are some mothers working so hard, they never get out of the house. Right. They never get into the sunshine. They have to take their children everywhere they go. And how nice to just be able to sit outside and visit with another person who's just going to be like the companion, whether it's a phone call once a week. whether I meet you once a month in the library or the park. Like the $4 ticket story, people can visit at the libraries for free. There are meeting rooms, there is Wi-Fi, there are places to meet, sit in the air-conditioned mall, there are recliner chairs. You don't have to spend money, you don't have to take them out to dinner. Just pick a place and meet them and spend some time with them.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to rewind here because I didn't talk about how we decided our top 3 initiatives. I did not want to just assume, oh, there are hungry people, oh, there's homeless people. I wanted to actually have feedback from the community about what are you seeing, what are you hearing. So what we started to do, long before we got the nonprofit, I started holding what we still call community conversations. And we had a space that a church gave us to use to have our meetings. When we had no space, my phone was my office.
Right.
They gave us for free their home that they had and said, use it, launch a nonprofit. So I would invite people in and say, we're talking about homelessness, we're talking about food insecurity, we're talking about transportation, we're talking about the need for a database, we're talking about how do we collaborate on case management. And so we'd have a different topic and people would come in, 5 people, 8 people, 10 people. When it got bigger for that space, I would take Larry Ringer Library meeting rooms, which are free. Anybody who's a library member, if you're ever looking for a place to meet, we've got 2 beautiful libraries in town, Clara Mounts and the Larry Ringer. You can book the space. It's for free.
Wow.
It's got Wi-Fi. It's got the screen. So we'd have Saturday morning community conversations. And that was the beginning of all this work.
Yes.
Because people would walk in and we'd break up into small groups. And I'd say, if your passion is food insecurity, how do we extend pantry work in this town? And then I had people who said, well, I'm about eating healthy food, but I'm into community gardens. So we formed a whole community gardens group. People who like to garden and want to grow the food and supplement what they get from the pantries, because you don't always get the fresh fruit and vegetables.
Right.
So the listening at each of these community events we held, and we held them every month, once a month on a Saturday morning, and sometimes there were 20 people, sometimes there were 50 people, but every meeting we were hearing,
Yes.
this is what's happening in Bryan. Did you know? Did you know? Oh, we didn't know. Oh, tell us more. So then when it came time to identify what is Sweet Oak going to focus on, shelter rose to the very top.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about affordable housing, which is owning a home. That's not what I'm talking about. Why? Because we have agencies like the Affordable Housing Corporation. We've got Habitat for Humanity that's building homes. We have these groups. Something I should mention about Sweet Oak, when we say our focus is unmet needs, it means we don't need to duplicate good stuff that somebody else is doing. We should conserve our volunteers and our time and our money for the stuff that nobody's doing, the stuff that isn't getting done.
Right.
So shelter, which became emergency shelter on one side at the hotel rooms, and transitional housing, which I haven't talked about, but I will, became the 2 arms of shelter that became our focus. And we started the emergency shelter program and the transitional housing program. Okay. Second initiative was food insecurity, because we started hearing more and more about the elderly, the veterans, the disabled, those returning from hospital after surgery. You know, when you have lots of friends to form a meal train
Right.
and deliver your groceries and deliver a cooked meal, you're so blessed. What about the people who don't have anybody creating a meal train for them? Taking food and groceries became priority number 2. And then transportation became initiative number 3. Transportation this far has pretty much just been giving somebody bus tickets or paying for an Uber ride to a doctor's appointment or a job interview. We did not want to encourage, give me a tank of gas, because you get a lot of those calls.
Sure.
We will fill a tank of gas if we know you got to drive to Temple for your blood work or your specialist appointment. We will fill a tank of gas If you're starting your first week of work and the buses do not run at night, but your friend is willing to give you a ride every night at 10 o'clock, we will fill his tank of gas. It goes back to intake and case management.
Right.
We want to know the whole story. We're not taking cold calls. People call me every week. Can you deliver? We're not Uber and DoorDash.
Right.
We have 128 families on our list, but we can only take to 20. So I'm trying to decide every Saturday and Sunday who are the families most in need.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's in need.
Right.
Everybody would love a delivery.
Right.
How many of us use curbside and DoorDash and stuff to deliver?
Right.
Of course, we want to avoid a trip and waiting 2 hours at the pantry to get our stuff.
Right.
So if you can deliver, why not?
Right.
And I have to tell them, I'm sorry, we're limited to 20 people every week, But my good friend, every time she hears me saying, so-and-so took advantage of me. So-and-so told me a big tall tale and they were not being truthful. I'm not going to do that again. And she'd say, Esther, everybody's allowed to screw up one time. It's okay, let them one time.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to let them do it to you over and over again. So the next time they call, they're going to say, I'm so sorry. And that was a good lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say no the first time.
Right.
Try to say yes.
Yes.
Do your very best to get to yes until the yes has to become a no.
Right.
If they gave you reason for it to become a no, then it makes it easy to tell them no the next time.
Right.
And because my educator hat is always on from being school teacher and principal and all of that, I never just say no without giving them a reason. Because I feel you need to be educated on why I said no.
Yes.
It was not to be mean.
No, it's to help them grow.
Yes. Yes. You need to understand. And some people will say like, I call these 10 places. Yesterday there was somebody who said, I couldn't get into the shelter, but my friend who's in the shelter told me there are 5 empty beds. And I read it on Facebook, and he doesn't know that the director of the shelter is my friend. So I took a screenshot and I texted her late at night, and I said, this is what he just said. Can you share anything with me? She said, of course we do have 5 empty beds, but he is not allowed to return for this reason, this reason, this reason, and this reason. Well, he wasn't going to put those reasons on Facebook.
Right.
So I feel the need to educate the public about why some people are not allowed. Did you not do your chores? Did you lie? Did you leave and not come back by curfew? Did you try to sneak drugs in? Did you get into a confrontation in the cafeteria? Are you causing trouble? There are a variety of reasons why people are not allowed back in. People need to understand the shelter is it's not the Hilton or the Marriott.
Right.
It's an inconvenient place for a temporary time that gives you a bed, that gives you 3 meals, where you can take a hot shower, where you can do your laundry. You're there because you're in a crisis.
Right.
And we want to help you get out of there as fast as we can.
Right.
But I want to know you're willing to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got all these drugs in your system and you can't pass the test, I can't get you in.
Right.
Even if I want to help you.
Right.
So it's all these things when you start listening to the story, but also asking the right questions. I want people, like I said, counselors and therapists and nurses and people who have been involved with care.
Right.
They know how to ask the right questions. They know how to see the signs. And they're like, that doesn't sound right. It doesn't look right. So I'm going to try to find out more.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps us to use resources well.
Yes. And I've had a podcast, we did one on addiction and boundaries and things like that. There may be some of you that are listening that you've struggled with addiction. And I'm going to just narrow it down to 2, but basically 2 types of addicts. I'm sure there are more, but one is the one that's hit the bottom and said, I can't do this anymore. I've got to have help, and I'm ready to get the help. And there's the other that's still in denial. Well, it's not that bad. I'm not like everybody else. I don't need those meetings. You're not talking to me. And so you can only help the one that's ready to help themselves.
Yeah, but street drugs and the pull of it, there's a certain comfort, I guess, and I don't want to offend anybody because I'm sure there are people who are struggling with that exact decision that you just described. Am I ready to get out of this way of life? Am I ready to get off the street or off the bottle? Am I ready to stop trafficking myself to buy my drugs? The number of people we've helped who are sex trafficking themselves
Yes.
just to get the next hit. I can't say I understand it because I've not lived it.
Right.
But I do want to say to anybody who's listening, who's in that situation, your situation is real. Your situation is yours uniquely. For whatever reason you got into that situation. Maybe somebody was just horrible to you. You've dealt with terrible trauma or sadness or disaster in your life, and you feel it's not your fault. But I want to say to you, there are some beautiful people and amazing programs that can help you if you want the help, okay? And it's not an easy decision to make. I realize it is not.
Right.
But there is hope, and I strongly encourage you to just think about it. You don't have to make a decision overnight. Just keep thinking about it when you're really in despair.
Because there is freedom.
There is.
And I think that's the thing is, if you know you need freedom, you need it. It's time to be free. There are programs, there are people who will walk beside you and help you to get the help you need to live a life that right now, even if I said, write down what your imagination is for the best life you could possibly have, you could look at that you write, and you could say, I don't believe that's ever going to happen, but I'm telling you, there is freedom, and there's a life better than anything you could even write down on the other side of this addiction. And so I'm really grateful that you brought that up. And so for that, what program specifically would you say, if someone called me, this is who I would point them to? And is it different for female and male?
Well, yes and no. If you want a faith-based program, we've got the Nest Ministry.
Okay.
We've got Refuge Place for Men.
Okay.
We've got SOS Ministries in town where you not only attend faith-based classes and healing, but they're teaching you a trade. You can sign up for all kinds of job-related skills. You live there. I think it's a 9-month program, or I'm not sure, 9 months to 1 year. So those are faith-based programs. We have Promises, and we have More Than Rehab, 2 agencies in town, where there's 30-day, 60-day, 90-day programs. For many, that is like a trial period to see, can I do this?
Like a soft reset almost.
Yes.
Okay.
And then if you get through that, okay, now I'm ready to go into an Oxford house. Did you know there's Oxford houses for men? There's Oxford houses for women. It is sober living. It is a community. It is, I think you only pay $140 every week for rent. So it's like for $560, you get your room, or you're sharing with somebody, but you're learning to share a TV, a kitchen, share the chores of take the trash out. Many of these individuals have never had to do their share to live in community. So a halfway house program, one of these sober living programs where everybody in the house is accountable.
Yes.
You're all watching out for each other. There are weekly meetings. So you can't just say, I'll break the rule and nobody in the house is going to care. No.
Right.
Everybody in the house cares for your sobriety, because you breaking your sobriety is going to affect me. So there are those beautiful programs which are working, okay? That's the next step towards independence. I recently met a lady who's gone through that, and she said, I'm done with that. I'm ready for my own home. Can you help me? I really want to have my own home. And I said, okay, let's talk about financial planning and your budget, because I know somebody who'll help you get your own home.
So good.
Some of them don't know what is possible till we tell them what's possible.
Right.
And I feel it's our job to tell them, you know.
Yes.
Even on the days when I can't help somebody with what they're asking, I told you my educator hat is on. Tell them what's out there. Tell them what's possible. Tell them the right person to go talk to.
Yes.
Don't give them a bunch of phone numbers and just lead them nowhere. You know, if you want to be helpful, be really helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah, lots of good programs. And I make it my job to get to know these people. Because when you build relationships, I can pick up the phone at 10 o'clock at night and say, hey, can you take somebody in tomorrow?
Right.
And they'll tell me yes or no. Related to getting into a program, so many people don't have insurance. Yesterday I had lunch with my friend who knows somebody who does marketplace insurance in 24 hours. She will set it up. By the first of the next month, you're insured. And I said, well, is it only Ambetter insurance? She's like, no, it's United. You can get Blue Cross Blue Shield. You can get Aetna. You can get all of these. And you pick where you have doctors who will take that insurance. So if you've never seen a doctor, I had one lady who's been sex trafficked across multiple states. She has not seen a doctor. She is in such bad physical condition. She needs medicine. And she says, I have no insurance. I said, I want you to talk to my friend who'll get you the insurance and we'll set up a doctor appointment for you.
Yes.
It's those kinds of things where people don't know what is possible for them.
Right.
Another person called and said, I fled from one of the other states. And she said, so I've lost all our birth certificates and I've lost my social security card and the DMV office is making it hard for me to get my license renewed because I've got a ticket in the other state. I said, I have somebody who goes to the DMV office every week and helps people get their license back. They know people at the social security office. We'll help you get your social security card replaced.
Yes.
And it's those little things.
They feel momentous. They just feel huge for someone in that situation because there's so many little things that has been evolved into this humongous thing.
And they think it's hopeless.
So when you give them we can do this, it's like everything clears up.
Yep. Yep. So what we do is just like when somebody says, what do you do? It's so hard for me to even, like, there are probably 10 other things that I haven't even told you about, but it's just everything overlaps.
Yes.
So we have OnRamp, a great organization in town, and now they've expanded to other cities, which is a testament to Blake and his heart and his team. People, you need to know that Sweet Oak formed because of Blake Jennings and what he did to help us. When I didn't know anything, he said, here are bylaws. Here's a certificate of formation. Here's how you get your EIN number. Just go for it, Esther. Just go for it. And so I did.
Wow.
But for the last 2 years, he's been hearing me say that transportation is one of our top initiatives. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying, if only I had a 15-passenger van, we'd do this and this and this and this and this. And 2 weeks ago, it became even more urgent to me because I was waiting for us to buy a van and we don't have the money to buy a van.
Right.
Okay, at the right time, God's going to send me a van. Mm-hmm. So Blake said, Esther, you haven't applied to OnRamp to get a van. I said, applied? I thought the vehicles you provide are only for families in need that we refer. Because, to get a vehicle from OnRamp, you have to have a caseworker or a friend or a church nominate you. And part of that nomination is you have to have known the person and their need for at least 6 months. Mm-hmm. You have to have worked with them and walked beside their goals. You have to take responsibility for them setting and keeping their goals.
Okay.
So it's a big thing. It's not just fill out a form and say, my friend needs a car. No. I didn't know that we could nominate ourselves. And I said, what? And he goes, yes, you're a nonprofit. And we have a whole separate application for nonprofit helping another nonprofit.
Wow.
So you need to turn in your application. How wonderful that would be if it went around town with Sweet Oak Collaborative painted on both sides and people said, what's that van? What are they doing?
Yes.
But it became more urgent this past 2 weeks when I met with a young lady who had got a job, $20 an hour, but working at Sanderson Farm. What she told me was, she said they pay $20 an hour, but I have to pay $20 every night at midnight to get back home for my Uber ride.
Right.
And she said, but half my paycheck goes on Uber. Mm-hmm. And that was when a 15-passenger van can bring 14 people back at midnight and they don't all have to pay $20 each. Even if they paid $5 or $8 or $10, they're saving money and we are able to pay the driver and gas.
Yes.
And the light bulb went off in my head. The solutions were very clear. Fill out that application, Esther. Get it to Blake as soon as you can. Get a van. and start helping people move forward faster.
Yes.
That's another goal of Sweet Oak. Moving forward faster. How do you help families in crisis move forward faster?
Okay, guys, that's the end of our talk for today. We've run out of time, but it's a great question to leave on. How do we help families move forward faster? So I'm going to do something I haven't ever done before. We're going to do a special midweek episode. So this is released on a Tuesday. Our next episode will be released Saturday because there was just so much good information. I didn't want you to miss any of it. So stay tuned because Saturday we will have another episode that picks up right where we left off and how can we help families move forward faster. And we're also going to cover some additional things that we haven't even gotten to yet. That's how much stuff Miss Esther does for our community. So if your heart has stirred to do something, but you haven't put feet to it yet, you haven't gotten involved somewhere, no matter where you want to help, Miss Esther is such an amazing person with Sweet Oak Collaborative on helping you get connected to the people that you want to help. So thanks for being with us today. I look forward to seeing you Saturday. Have a great week.